And the new moon in Capricorn is on Tuesday. Let me get the exact time. It is Tuesday, January 12th, 11 p.m. Central Time, which makes it like midnight Eastern. The moon is in Capricorn right now. And, you know, it's like, okay, what does that mean? Capricorn is, interestingly, where we've done a lot of work over the last few years. It is, let me turn this down a little bit. I don't want that to be too distracting. It is the idea of boundaries, foundations, rules. It is sometimes limitations. It is how we construct our lives. It rules government, the establishment. That's Capricorn. And last year in January, we had the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto being rebirth and death, and the Tower card, that's Pluto. Pluto is power. Saturn being the ruler of Capricorn, its function is structure, rules. It's the taskmaster. It's sort of the father of the zodiac. You have to do this, and this is the way it needs to be done. And so that's Capricorn. So we had a massive restructuring over the last year, the Great Reset. That is what people called it. That's what I call it. That's how it looks in astrology. It matches up with the astrology. I mean, it was a great reset. We've torn down all of our reality, basically, really getting rid of the way we did things before. Even as far as time goes, like time is a Saturn ruled subject. So even time changing right now. Okay. So that's Capricorn, right? So that's what makes this specific new moon so significant. And it's because we are able now, without Saturn being there, to set intentions for a new establishment this new moon. Well, that's good timing. Right? Like, whoa. So what is interesting about this new moon as well is that it is conjunct Pluto. We have the sun, moon together in Capricorn at 23 degrees. Pluto's at 24 degrees. And wouldn't you know that that's very close to the degree that Saturn and Pluto had their conjunction last year? And wouldn't you know that it was the same day? It was January 12th. I mean, what? Sometimes, you know, people like to rag on astrology, and I love to just let them, because I don't care. Because patterns, patterns are what it's about. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Ribbit. Patterns are what astrology is about. Astrology is math. That's what astrology is. The orbit of Saturn is between 27 and 30 years, somewhere around there. The orbit of Pluto is 240-ish years. The orbit of Uranus is 84 years. So what we're saying is that number holds a specific energy. That's how I view it. So every time this specific cycle comes back in, that's what we're getting. We're getting a specific pattern coming back. And that's how I look at astrology. And so the fact that these things come back up and they happen at the exact same degree is just like, honestly, it makes me feel a certain way. It makes me feel like, are we in a matrix? Like, okay, whatever. But the point being, this new moon at 23 degrees, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction was 22 degrees. It happened January 12th. At 9:04 a.m. Central Time of 2020. That was the first boop. We're going to change. Now, I don't know if you guys recall, and it's good to do year in review, right? This is my first video, I think, of the new year. I've taken quite a while to just pause because it felt like, in fact, the astrology was pretty quiet for the end of the year. And I took the opportunity to reset because I knew that what was coming was less quiet. And so, let's just look back a little bit for just a moment. January 12th, 2020. How did we come into this last year to 2020? I don't know if people remember that there were earthquakes in Puerto Rico. There were fires in Australia and our West Coast. And then it just ramped up from there. And then there was a pandemic, and then it was quarantine, and then it was this, and then it was that. And all the while having to also deal with political rhetoric, with putting our power in the hands of someone else, whether it be someone else as an entity like our government, literally looking to people to say, what do we do? How do we do this? And realizing that the people that we've given power may not care about us at all. Maybe not at all. I don't know. So January 12th, 2020, we had the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. And it's like, you know what? Let's just show you. Let's just show you where our power is. And I think we've all kind of gone, whoa. There is, and now you see power grabs. We need power. We need power. That's what this new moon is about. So personally, in your personal lives, it is about power disempowerment in your own life. It is about the time to be done with something and how we start it anew and how we step up into power. Okay. Power. Whoa, what a word. Because that wraps up a whole other set of things that we have to deal with when you talk about power. I mean, everyone knows the with great power comes great responsibility, right? Everyone knows that. But also when we talk about power, we think of things like abuse of it. And we think of things like the word me, the word I. Who has power? Why do we want power? What kind of power do you want? What are the rules for power? What rules do we have in our government that help us not have someone that takes power, that wants to take power? Now, interestingly enough, when we think about power grabs, we have to think about the fact that means if someone's making a power grab, that means there's some power that they perceive they do not have in order to grab it. And that's what makes people go crazy. Throw tantrums, do things they wouldn't normally do. So I do want you to think about this in terms of your own life, because for this new moon on Tuesday, I can't stress enough how wild it is that it's not only happening at nearly the same degree, this new moon, as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, but it's still co-present with Pluto, and it's on the same day 1 year later as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. There is a whole lot of symbolism in that. So setting new rules, having new boundaries, deciding what we are really truly done with when it comes to authority, where we put authority in our lives. Who do we give authority over us? What do we give authority over us that we do not any longer want to give authority to? Some people are governed by the government. Some people are governed by their own autonomy. Obviously, I live in Alabama, USA, and the type of governments that we have given our autonomy to, we have to live in a certain set of rules and a certain set of laws and abide by these laws. And these laws are written by people who, I mean, I'd venture to say there's not many good people in any area of government. And that's a very bold statement to make, but I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of whatever happened at the Capitol, which was, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, it was sad and it was wrong and it was scary. And it comes from something deeper than we can even imagine. It comes from childhood trauma. It comes from abuse. That's where the Capitol, the storming of the Capitol came from. A long line of trauma and hurt and pain. And then these people latch on to rhetoric that makes them feel powerful. They're told they're not free. They're told that the government is trying to hurt them. Well, you know what? I'm sure that's true, but not in the way that these people were fed it. These people were fed rhetoric that emboldened them into bloodlust. Bloodlust. These people killed other people. And that comes from pain and trauma. That comes from lack of love. And it comes from needing power, feeling disempowered. And so that is something that we're all looking at in our own lives right now. I mean, I'm not saying that, everyone has latched onto that. Obviously, there's a whole half of the country that looks at that in horror, and hopefully more than half, and says, holy crap. These people were acting out of bloodlust, and they were emboldened by a part of our own selves, really. I mean, they're emboldened by rhetoric, by promises of power, feeling disempowered, a lack of love. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on that because it is what it is. We've all seen it happen. We all saw it unfold right before us. I didn't think that it would be what it was, and then it was what I didn't think it would be. Adjust my camera here. And were you all shocked? Because I was shocked. I know the astrology of how shocking this time period is going to be, and I was still shocked. So now we're left with the fallout, and here we are into a new moon with Pluto, in which we all have been jostled out of our comfort zone and shown this major problem that we have, which is lack of love, disempowerment, and disillusion and illusion. That's a part of the puzzle that I'm going to talk about. But we are in a time that's ramping up. Jupiter and Neptune will make a conjunction in 2022, and Neptune is fog, it's confusion, it's illusion. Now, the higher vibe of that is spirituality, but Jupiter is expansion. And so you think of expanding that stuff. That's where we're at. It's on its way there. Jupiter will touch Pisces this summer very quickly. It flies through Aquarius. So we are at the height of the ability to confuse people. We're at the height of misinformation. And in fact, I've seen it. Oh my gosh, please don't think just because you are on one side that it's not happening on your side. It is happening everywhere. People share things and it says a headline that's clickbaity, and here we are just resharing it because it fits our narrative. That is not the right way. We have to read the articles. We have to find out for ourselves. You cannot listen to other people. You cannot have a guru, a guru. You can't. You are you. You are you. You're your own guru. Look at it yourself. Read it yourself. Talk to your representatives. I'm just, you can't even read a title anymore and take it at face value. For instance, I read that another Capitol police officer had passed away, and I was like, oh my God, 2 of them? And then I had to go read the article, and the article said he passed away. He was unrelated to that. It was unrelated to the storming of the Capitol. It is imperative that we take back our power, and that means our minds. That means work. It does mean work. We have to spend time looking into things and digging into things. Pluto is investigation. All right, so let me start talking about the astrology, because I can't just sit here and preach about that. But I did want to bring up the fact that the Pluto-Saturn conjunction was January 12th, 2020 at 22 degrees. And this new moon in Capricorn is January 12th, 2021 at 23 degrees. Let me just go to today. Today, the moon is in Capricorn at 1 degree right now, heading towards Venus. And I think that this is important. We have to talk this. There's so much happening, and I'm going to try to keep it boiled down. It's a lot. Revolution, rebellion, innovation, upheaval. Think of those words. They're very active right now. They're associated with the planet Uranus, which is in a sign that deals with values, finances, money, love, justice. It's in Taurus. Our comfort, our resources. So we're having upheaval, revolution, innovation in the area of our resources, of our values. That's active. That's active all year. That's actually a transit for 7 years. But right now it's super active because it will be interacting with other outer planets this year. And Venus right now is at 3 degrees of Capricorn, and it's touching that. And it's also touching Mars. Mars is there too. So on Inauguration Day, Mars, which is action, it's the god of war, it's passion, it's desire, joins up with Uranus, which is upheaval and revolution. So you have revolutionary action, which is being filtered through what are our values, what is justice, what is fair, what is comfort, what is money. And then you have Venus and Capricorn, and it's talking to Venus and Capricorn, and it's saying, is this the way you want to conduct yourself? What does success mean to you, especially in terms of money and justice? How do you climb the mountain that way? And we need a redo. Okay. We need to, and it's like, I imagine Jesus in the Bible flipping the tables over with the money on it. That's what's going on. Okay. And we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we're on our way. People are starting to wake up. What is it? Why are we mad? What are we mad at? Are we mad at the establishment? Yes, we are. I'm mad that the establishment let what happened on the storming of the Capitol Day on January 6th. I'm mad that the establishment let that happen. I don't care which part of the establishment let that happen. I'm mad that our rules allowed that to happen, that we have rules in place that did not keep that from happening. I don't care if it was because the president put people in the Pentagon that did his bidding, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. How did that happen? Where are our checks and balances? Obviously, we need an overhaul, okay? And obviously, we need more Stacey Abrams. No, this is not me endorsing one political party, because I try to stay very, very anti. This is who I am through my astrology, because I always say there's no dogma in astrology, and there isn't, and there is no. But why do I say that about Stacey Abrams? Because she mobilized to get people passionate about voting. about the fact that we literally vote in people who make rules for us, who we allow to have power over us. And that includes your local police chief. We have to take back the power. We have to really look at these people. We need to tell people, hey, I'll take you to the polling place. I don't care who you vote for. Have you looked into it? And telling people to care about who we're giving power to. That is what Uranus and Taurus is doing. It's upheaval. It is things we can't expect out of the blue. And I'll tell you what, I don't think people on either side expected that on the 6th. Now, of course, we should have. It was being talked about. But I truly don't believe that it was expected. Because people thought, no way, like, really? But you know what? We've given power to those who pushed that into being. Little ripple effects. So we all need to become a Stacey Abrams. Right, left, independent, I don't give a crap. We all need to get out and understand that we put power in people's hands. Our power, we give it to people. And we don't think about who it is. We don't know who these people are. We don't talk to them. We don't call and say, hey, this is uncool. Why are you guys putting people in jail for smoking weed? Etc., etc. So Uranus and Taurus is emboldening that. Now, let me tell you about Uranus and Taurus. The last time Uranus was at this degree of Taurus or very close to this degree of Taurus was, I have 3 dates for you. It was 1763, 1853, and 1936. In 1763, it was just the beginning of the American Revolution. We signed the Paris Treaty, and we were coming out of the French and Indian War, and we were nonstop headed in. You know why? Because our values were challenged. 1853, just pre-Civil War. The early rumblings. The challenge of values. What do I find just, fair? What do I find valuable? And then 1936. So all of these were about 10-ish years before big events. 1936 was the rise of fascism, Mussolini, Hitler. Okay? And if I can point out to people that if someone were there pointing it out to people in 1763 and 1853 and 1936 and saying, hey, here's your opportunity to get involved. Here's your opportunity to care and think and raise your consciousness and become aware and spend your time. Spend your money wisely. Don't put money in people's hands that don't deserve it. And don't put money in companies' hands that don't deserve it. Take back your power. If someone was there saying that, I don't know. Events may not have gone differently. But it's active today, even. It will be active straight through to Inauguration Day. And so the fact that it's an earth sign and an earth sign, our reality is literally being challenged and brought and put up on the table here. It's like, here's your reality. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to flip the tables over because they're selling things in the church like Jesus did? Jesus was mad about it. It's like, what are you doing? Making money here. Oh, and that's a good thing to talk about too. Just how much money churches make. I know y'all have seen Joel Osteen and all the crap he has. It would be very hard for me to get rich because I would be one to feed people, and especially a spiritual individual, a spiritual leader. These are the people that are getting rich and what we call grifting. That's a new word I've learned lately. I mean, I think I've heard it before, but boy, people are using that word a lot. Grifter. It's true. That's a Uranus and Taurus subject. So the moon and Venus today are trine Uranus and Mars. And it's like we're becoming emotionally aware that this is a thing. And we may be surprised at how we feel about it. Now, the other part of the story is that tomorrow, the new moon, let me get back to my chart. I need to look at it. New moon in Capricorn. Here we are. Oh, yeah. So in terms of being connected with anything else, it's not really. The only thing the new moon is connected with that's of note to me is the asteroid Vesta, which is the fire keeper. Vesta was committed. So I think that's another part of this new moon is being committed to really figuring out where we're giving our power away, where we're being disempowered, where are, people are actually stepping on us. Is putting a boot in your ass the American way? I don't think it is. I really don't. So having commitment to figuring out where we're being disempowered, where we're allowing rules to govern us that shouldn't be, who we're giving our power to. And I want to bring this back down to people's personal lives, except for no. This literally is about your personal life. The people in power and government, literally, it directly affects your personal life. So yes, this is about the rules you have for yourself somewhere else, where you're being disempowered, maybe in your own life. Absolutely. And maybe that's where it starts. Maybe you figure it out on a smaller scale. So then we have after the new moon. So I would spend Tuesday thinking about these things. Tuesday would be a really great day to write to your representatives. I believe in symbolism. I believe in symbolically doing things. And Tuesday would be a wonderful day to write to your representatives. But also, take a look at your own constitution, your personal constitution. What does that even mean? What rules do you have for yourself? What checks and balances do you put into place to keep yourself from going off the deep end and maybe joining a cult or allowing someone else to have power over you that shouldn't? It's an important thing right now. So after the new moon, we can talk about what's happening after it. And I think that's very important. I don't know that the new moon's going to be because it's with Pluto, there's potential for fireworks. The dark moon typically is quiet though, but we are planting seeds, and Pluto is life, death, rebirth. So it's the end of some way we've allowed people to have power over us and the beginning of a new way of empowerment. Okay. But then we move on, and the moon immediately moves into Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is a super big deal this year. We have a lot of energy in Aquarius. Specifically, Wednesday, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planetary objects in Aquarius, if you count Pallas Athena. So the great conjunction Jupiter and Saturn happened at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And it's still pretty active. Jupiter and Saturn are just 2 degrees away right now. Jupiter at 5 degrees, Saturn at 3 degrees. Saturn being rules, limitations, Jupiter being belief and truth and expansion. And that specific sign deals with humanity in general, our goals, our future, the way we conduct ourselves as a global community. That would be an Aquarian topic. It's also innovation, scientific advances. That's an Aquarian topic as well. So we're talking about the potential to, what is it? Is it Murphy's Law? Some law, not Murphy's Law. Whatever law it is about the technologies just getting faster and faster and faster. So that's an Aquarian topic. It rules the internet, social media. That's something to keep in mind. That's where the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is. So it's like, hey, let's start a new cycle here. What do we believe our rules are as a community? What is our future going to look like? And immediately we get challenged on that after the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Why is that? Well, I talked about Uranus and Taurus just a minute ago, which is upheaval in our values. That is in a tense aspect to Aquarius. Taurus and Aquarius, they're sort of like cross purposes. Taurus is very fixed in its own values and wants to stay the same. Aquarius is detached and it wants to do its own thing. It has its own future goals. And it looks at the whole. It's like, I don't care how comfortable you are, Taurus. Aquarius looks at the whole, but I want to know if this is going well, if the whole of it is going well. So we're having an upheaval in terms of our comfort level and its intention to the new cycle we're starting in terms of our future goals, in terms of what we consider community and friends. So those two things are squaring each other this whole year, but it's especially active right this moment. And in fact, Jupiter being at 5 degrees, Uranus is at 6 degrees. They're almost exactly square. So that's something we need to look out for. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the moon is there. And it brings this, the moon governs our moods. So that's what Rick Levine says. He says, you're in if you're feeling a certain way and it's brief, you're in a moon. You're not in a mood. You're in a moon because the moon travels very fast. So traveling through Aquarius can feel a little detached. Aquarius can be like alien energy, right? But also an awareness of it's like floating above everything. Aquarius is an air sign. And I think of, use a lot of Bible terms in this one. I don't know why, but the firmament, like the top part of our sky that's held in by our magnetic field. That's Aquarius. It sees everything and it's fixed up there. So, and Mercury's there as well. And actually today, Mercury is conjunct Jupiter, which kind of has this epiphany sort of signature to it. You know, like we're getting this epiphany. We're kind of upgrading the way we think right now. We're becoming aware of things that we weren't aware of before. And it's square Uranus tomorrow. So like I said, these next 3 days, 4 days, no, this next week and a half is all about these things that I'm talking about. Our comfort level being shifted, our values being shifted, becoming aware of that, Mars really emboldening that. And then what we consider a community, what we consider good for our future, innovation, technology, those things just adjusting around each other. So then we got Thursday. So yeah, the moon's in Aquarius straight through Friday, the 15th. The weekend, I'm looking at other things just to make sure. The moon moves into Pisces on this weekend and things might, it's hard to say. Things may calm down this weekend, but it also may feel just like confused and a little bit like we're in bizarro world. Pisces energy is very unique. It is confusion, disillusionment, spirituality, dreams, the ether. And it's funny that Aquarius and Pisces are right there next to each other. So Aquarius and Pisces both hold this almost detached nature about it themselves. Pisces is porous. And so this weekend with the moon in Pisces, you know, it would be a good idea to do whatever you consider meditation, prayer, connecting to spirit, and really digging in deep to a spiritual place. And let me tell you why. I want to read the Sabian symbol for this new moon. That's a word picture for every symbol, every degree of the zodiac. And the Sabian symbol for this specific new moon is a woman entering a convent. And I was looking at the one before it because last year with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, The one before it is a soldier receiving awards for bravery in combat. Okay. But we're now setting intentions on the woman entering a convent. So what does that tell me? It tells me that past a certain point, when you get everything you've gotten, what is left? Whenever you've done the brave thing and gotten the awards, whenever you've gone and made all the money you can, all of those things, whenever you've done all of that, what's left? Spiritual connection. That's about the only thing you can't buy. Filling that God hole. Emotional security. That's the one thing you can't buy. And that's what this new moon is sort of speaking to us about. Another way of life exists, and it's a deeper, more spiritual way of life. It is one that holds love and compassion above all else. And so that's another thing this weekend. This whole week is going to be full of difficulty, and not difficulty like last year. Last year was difficult in like a sort of like dark ages way. This year's difficult in a we're on the verge of a revolution way, and things are shocking, and they will shock your system, and our adrenal system will be taxed just a little bit more because Mars has one more square to Saturn. In fact, it's doing that now, and I've almost been remiss in talking about that. Oh my gosh, I have to talk about that. That is something to note. For the last 6 months, Mars has been held back by Saturn. So the way we move forward has been held on a leash and like jerked back. Every time it squares Saturn, Saturn goes, nope, not yet, Mars. You can't move forward yet. And we are entering into our last square. And that is exact Wednesday, the 13th. Once that square perfects, it will feel like kind of beating your head against a wall for just a moment. But once it moves past it, it really is going to feel like a new world because it starts to meet up with Uranus. And then we have freedom being the only thing on our minds, right? So freedom to live the way we want to, freedom to be comfortable, freedom to decide what our values are and not have someone else impress them on us. So yeah, so this weekend with the moon in Pisces, it's going to be about integrating that, I think, spiritually, and really considering what our spiritual lives are like. If you don't have one, figure it out, man. What takes you to that higher plane, that higher feeling? What is it? It could be just specifically listening to yourself. I mean, it doesn't have to be something outside of yourself, but if it's walking around outside, if it's working on, putting together Legos, I don't care what it is, whatever gets you to this meditative space this weekend, practice that. And while you're in this meditative space, hold it higher. Love for people I feel like I hate. Love for people who have tried to completely ruin this country. Holding that space is very important, and it's very difficult, and it's important work, and it's difficult work. Compassion, encouraging people to vote. How are you going to do that if you don't agree with them? You have to find a place in yourself in which you can get to that higher place and see that we are all one. We are all unified, whether we want to be or not. We all come from the same material on this earth. None of us are made from matter outside of this earth. We're all made from the same stuff. We are all together. Every animal that goes extinct affects us. Every plant that goes extinct affects all of us. We are all one. Everything is one. And that is the space this weekend that we'll need to hold and we'll be aware of, and it's important. And so then we start to come into Monday. This is when it's going to get a little heightened. Okay. We're getting very heightened. We were heightened this week. This week is like, ugh. And then this weekend comes and it's like, okay, maybe I can disconnect from the news for a minute. Things don't happen on the weekend. It's fine. Then we come back into Monday, the 18th. And we get into Moon and Aries, and Mars gets closer to Uranus, and it leaves Saturn's grip. And the Moon in Aries is heightened, because Aries is fight for your rights, man. Aries is let's go. It meets Chiron first on Monday, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So we can be aware of wounds, of trauma, of, ooh, that really makes me feel bad on Monday. And I would expect it. And that's why I say this weekend, spend time doing your meditation, hiking, singing, getting creative, getting in your spiritual place, because come Monday, the 18th, it's going to be very tense. Jupiter is exactly square Uranus by Monday, the 18th. It actually begins Sunday evening. It'll be square Uranus, but we'll be starting to expect it on Sunday. And then Monday, the moon hits Aries, and we go, okay, things are getting real. The 19th, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Inauguration Day, Mars and Uranus are at the same degree. And this is the day that I'm looking at. Like, if I were to be talking to a client, I would say, don't go skydiving on this day. Don't get on a skateboard. Don't do anything dangerous. Mars is your body. Mars is head injuries. Mars is the cutting knife. Mars is the god of war. Uranus is innovation, revolution, upheaval, things out of the blue. Okay. When those two meet up, you're talking about, it's almost like rebel without a cause sometimes. I would venture to say we do have a cause right now, because Venus is in Capricorn, and our cause is seeing where we're letting the establishment hold power over us, in which we shouldn't. This is definitely the flipping the tables, the money changers tables over on this day. The other thing about Tuesday the 19th is that moon conjuncts the dwarf planet Eris, and Eris is the goddess of chaos. Eris was really pissed because all of the gods and goddesses got together for a party. I think it was a wedding, and they didn't invite Eris. And Eris was really mad about that. So Eris had this golden apple of chaos, and she wrote "to the most beautiful" on it and rolled it into the party. And then it, of course, caused a bunch of problems, and the gods and goddesses fought. And this is actually in mythology what led to the Trojan War. So the moon is conjunct the goddess of chaos on the 19th. And there is also something to be said about that. This new moon that's Tuesday squares the goddess of chaos. So we really have to be aware of that. Now, chaos to me is God. I mean, that's what we think. We have order in this world. And I think that's a little bit of a notion that maybe just makes us feel comfortable. But chaos rules. Okay. So how we can find order in it is probably the best intention we can make. How can we find order in this chaos? What rules do I have for myself that look like we have order? But yeah, Tuesday is I'm telling people, just not that the astrology of it's very not cool for Inauguration Day. It's very uncool. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, and it's funny because astrologers forecast. They don't predict. I can't predict. I'm not going to predict. I will forecast and say that it is a wildly unstable day on January 19th, Tuesday. Wildly unstable. Mars and Uranus together on Tuesday the 19th is recipe for something crazy. Okay. Moon conjunct the goddess of chaos, Eris, on Tuesday the 19th is upheaval. Okay. And this new moon being square to Eris, upheaval. That's the seed that's being planted. So just, Tuesday, keep yourself close to home. That's why this weekend coming up, I really am encouraging prayer and meditation and holding the space of love and compassion. It matters. I truly, truly believe it matters. I'm not going to get emotional. I can feel myself when I begin to talk about how much it matters for us to have a spiritual practice in which we cultivate love and cultivate compassion, even for those that are hardest to cultivate compassion for. When you see something like this coming down the pipe as an astrologer, the only thing I can do is say, try to love your neighbor. And you tell other people that as well. This is not the time for inflammatory words. I'm not talking about appeasing people. I'm not talking about being a pacifist. I'm talking about love for the sake of love right now. Because I don't believe inflammatory words are going to help. It comes down to it, and you need to protect something physically. That's one thing. Inflammatory words on Twitter don't help. Or on Facebook. No, they do not help the cause. Information helps. Love helps. Inflammatory words are not helpful right now. Okay, Tuesday the 19th just looks fairly insane. I don't know what else to say. I'm hoping that as a people, we can hold a space of love and compassion and really go into that day with that feeling. And it's important that everyone help cultivate that this weekend, because I'm seeing astrologers on Twitter tweet the president and vice president about this day because of how the symbolism of it. It's insane. In your own lives, look for where Taurus is in your chart. By the way, I'm still running a sale, and I'm running it through at least this date because I feel like it's very important to tell people where this is happening, because you could experience upheaval in your own life in some microcosm way. So Tuesday the 19th, you could experience something out of the blue. Upheaval is a thing. That being said, I don't want to sow fear. So let me say another thing that I like to point out, that it's upheaval to win the lottery, okay? It's just a bunch of change. It's just something that enters your life that makes you go, whoa, this is my value right now. And I didn't realize these were my values. You're going to really become aware. If you have been lost in direction on what direction to go in your own life, if you have been like, I don't know how to make a plan, this day it will become more clear. The 19th and 20th, you will know which direction to go. There is no way around it. Things become so clear Tuesday and Wednesday, the 19th and 20th, that it's like almost unavoidable. We're not constrained by Saturn anymore. You're going starting then. So, and I think that makes sense. We've all sort of been waiting on this inauguration anyway. Look at what certification of the election was. That's usually not even a news event. How can we make plans for the future when these things are happening and we don't expect them, right? And they're just like, what? So I think past this date, and I've been telling a lot of people the new year doesn't really start till this date. Like, it's true. Things become more clear. We are able to make plans. The direction becomes more clear past this date, astrologically and in reality. So then something happens on January the 20th that is called the first quarter square of the moon. And then the moon meets Mars and Uranus on the 20th as well. So I'm just saying the 19th and 20th are heightened days. Very, very heightened. Expect it to be heightened even in your own life. And then that also means if you're getting anger, frustration, harsh words from people, remember what I'm saying, that everyone's going through this, and hopefully you can use that to apply love to the situation. I talk a lot about empowerment and disempowerment, and so I'm definitely not talking about allowing someone to have power over you, but I am talking about moments in which we choose to inflame a situation or not, or to continue in an argument when it's not good or not. I told someone on Twitter the other day that I was just going to allow them to be wrong in perpetuity. And that's the kind of drawing the line in the sand that I'm talking about. Like, we're not going to participate in things that do not help a situation around this time. So be aware of that. You may be a lightning rod for that kind of stuff. If people are going to take out their internal struggles on you, it will happen sometime around this time. And the first quarter square of the moon is always the first point of adjustment. We have a new moon. I'm glad I got a circle behind me. It's going to help me. Here's the new moon, right? The moon and the sun come together. The first quarter square is when it does this. And then it's a half moon. And you see it in the sky. And that is the first period of adjustment. Usually not super easy. For this one, specifically not easy because it's Taurus to Aquarius, where Uranus and it's just active, okay? And then we have a full moon. That will be in Leo. So this first quarter square of the moon on the 20th is the first point of adjustment where everyone's like, we need, whoa. Our values are not being honored right now. We have to make new rules. This is crazy. We're not doing this anymore. That includes in your own life. Find where Taurus and Aquarius is. Specifically Taurus. Okay. So Friday, it's pretty much still the same energy. But I'm sorry, Thursday and Friday, the moon's still in Taurus. And it's just, we're kind of cruising past that. Like once we get into Gemini territory, I think we sort of take a break a little bit. It's like you can breathe, you can think, you have room for that. Let's see, I'm just looking to see. It's good to note though, on January 23rd, which is a Saturday, the sun hits Saturn. And so it's like really looking at rules, really looking at where we're limited. We may even feel like past Saturday into Sunday, it's like, you know what, I'm pushing forward. Interestingly, all last year, when the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto was in Capricorn, everything that was going through Capricorn hit Jupiter first and then Saturn. So it's like we hit this, yay, we can do it. And then Saturn said, no, you can't. Right. So that was the kind of the feeling of last year. This year, we hit Saturn first. It's like, you can't do this. And then Jupiter's like, yeah, you can. So that's a nice switch up. And that's how sort of the end of January is going to feel. But that means the sun comes into a square with Uranus and Mars. And so we're still dealing with a little bit of this upheaval, this, I can't believe this energy, and then having to innovate as well, having to find new ways to do things and new ways to approach things. So that's really the spirit of January into February. I think the last date before the full moon that I want to go over is Venus conjunct Pluto, and that happens the 27th, 28th. And that's going to really be an ending. Venus goes, you're done with this, right? And Pluto goes, you have to be. So Venus being good luck, though, Venus being a benefic, is kind of a sweet ending, right? It's kind of a, we're done with feeling this way. We're going to start receiving power in a different way, empowerment in a different way. That is the 27th and 28th. The 29th, the 28th is going to be the full moon. I just will say, and then of course I'm going to have a full moon video, so I'm going to stop there. But I will say that January 30th is Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. So we're going to talk about that at the full moon. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius that's why I'm like, January, February is probably the most heightened of the months of, there's going to be weeks of heightened activity throughout this year, but the most heightened activity is January, February, and we've gone through most of it actually already, and we're about to go through the last bit of the heightened sort of upheaval, kind of where we're having to innovate and do all this sort of situation. And then, so February, we're dealing with the Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, and it's like, let's rethink all of this, because you know what? Just because someone who is on your team, who you voted for, is in office now, does not mean they're going to make right decisions. It's going to require us staying on people's ass. It's exactly what this new moon is about. We put these people in power. We have to be active and vocal in it. We're a body. We're a part of the body. And if my finger went numb, I would be upset. So pay attention. Don't be the numb limb in the body. Pay attention. Talk to your representatives. Write the president if there's something going on. For instance, we don't need rules passed that restrict our speech on the internet. We need to be aware of these things. It looks good because some things we don't like need to be restricted, but that's not the right way. We really need to put our brains on and think about rules being passed and write our representatives, because we can't be dumb about it. We can't check out and say the government's doing something, they're passing some bills. I'm more passionate about this than I've ever been. It matters. We have to read. We have to think. It's time to do that. The North Node's in Gemini. Information. We have to take it in. The South Node's in Sagittarius. Let go of the old story. That old story that we're on cruise control, we're just going to work and doing our daily lives, and the government's something out there in the whatever. Nope. Not cool. Okay. Later on, I'm going to type out where the new moon is for everyone so that you can find that on my blog. This video is going to be up on my YouTube. I hope the best for you all. Don't forget to hold some this coming weekend. I mean, if you can hold it this week, that's fine. But we're just in such our adrenal systems are very, very much being taxed. Maybe less so than when Mars was in retrograde, but it's not helpful to know all of these things are going on in the outside world for our system. We have to actively take care of it, feed it nourishing foods, get off the internet when you can, check out from the news when you can. That doesn't mean be uninformed. It means to take breaks. It means to listen to the stuff I have playing on my Google, whatever, like look up sound bath on Spotify, like whatever you can do to hold a meditative, prayerful tone during this time is going to be helpful. Find where Taurus is in your chart. Maybe I'll include that in my type up. So it'll be by rising sign. And if you have any questions and want me to look at your chart, again, I'm running a sale that directly helps feed my family. So I do appreciate everyone. All of my clients mean so much to me. I've had an enormous amount of fulfillment being able to journey through people's story with them. And it is just wonderful. So I'm grateful. I hold that space of gratefulness and gratitude. And thank you and all my love. I will see you soon. Au revoir.